Hi, Andreas from Toddle here. And today we got a really great question from Raphael, who's a new Toddle user.
Good morning, my fellow toddlers. Hope you're all well. I've been kind of watching the old toddler space for the past few months. Really excited by the platform. Currently building it in Bubble, but I'm looking for an alternative to switch to before I launch my SaaS app. So with that in mind, I have a couple of questions. I've been watching the tutorials. Absolutely fantastic. There's some tools as well by a guy called No Code Coder. That I've really enjoyed watching, particularly as I'm coming from the Bubble world. So the way he breaks things down is just incredible. So thank you for all of those resources. The question I have is this. At the moment, I am controlling the visibility of all of these setting panels using URL parameters. So here I have the name of the page. Ignore the rest of this part to the left of that. Here I have the name of the template. And then I'm saying that I'm in desktop view, or if I click mobile, it then changes to mobile view. And then this final path is the actual module that I'm in. So the settings panel, I'm here on the content panel, and then here I'm on the details panel. So my question is this possible in Toddle? Can I have objects on the page look to the URL paths to determine visibility, and if it's not possible, what would you suggest would be the best way to achieve a similar effect in Toddle? And I'm really looking forward to seeing if Toddle can replace Bubble, because I really need a replacement. All right, thank you guys, really appreciate any help in advance. Thanks again.
Now that's a really great question. And side note, we're also big fans of No Code Coder. So let's have a look at how that would work in Toddle. So here I've got a new page loaded up in Toddle. And if we go to the data tab on a page, we can see this section called page. And if we open that up, we can see more information specifically around the page we're on. And this allows us to first of all add a title and description to the page. We want to have that on every page. I'm going to call this user, I think. And then the user page. It's not the best description in the world, but it's important to have it for every page. And then we can add here either path or query. So if I want to add a path here, I can start by saying users, right? So now this page will be found at our domain /users. And I can add another section to that path called, in this case, user. Or let's say actually call it username. And now this page will be found at a path /users/username. And if you see over here on the right, we can actually take this part of the path and change it to be a parameter. And what that means is that it's now not the literal word username, but actually it can be any sort of text string in that place in the path. And whatever it is, that'll then be available to the page. So I'm going to just say Andreas for now. So now, for example, if you go to the URL /users/Andreas, this is the page that's going to be loaded. And inside this value, Andreas is now going to be available to the page. Now we can also add a query param here, and let's call it view and then say details. And the query parameters and path parameters work more or less in the same way. They're both dynamic information we can pass along to an application or page specifically through the URL. The difference is that the path parameter here is sort of considered part of defining what page we're on in a user context, right? So we're still on the same page in Toddle, but when we change the username, we usually distinguish the users Andreas from the users Thomas page, right? We consider them two different pages, even though in Toddle it's the same page underneath that's serving up both of them, right? And that also means that when you link between them, when you navigate between them, it's going to update the browser history. So if you update the path parameter to a new username in Toddle and then press the browser back button, it's going to go back to the previous page, which could be the same page but with a different username. However, updating the query param arguments doesn't change the history. So you can do that as many times as you want, and it updates the URL, but it doesn't mess with the browser history. So if you change, we can change view details to whatever we want, as many times as we want. And when we press back, it's going to go back to the last page, which means the last time any part of the path changed. So that's sort of important when figuring out where you should put this information. You should sort of say, should it be part of the history? Then we probably want it as part of our path. If it shouldn't be just additional information, then we'll put it in the query params. Right. So now that we've added that, let's go and update our interface. So the first thing I want to do here is I'm going to take the text inside my heading, and then I'm going to now use this new URL parameter that shows up in our formula selector. And this isn't there unless you actually create them for the page, right? So now we can go and check username, and we can see, because I said the test value of Andreas, that's what shows up here. But as we later, when we go and test it in a little while, we can see that changes based on the URL. And then here, I'm just gonna duplicate this. We're gonna do very simple and say, this is going to be show height. I'm going to say is view equals details. Then we're going to show that one. And then here we can say view equals, let's say edit. I'm not quite sure what page I'm making here, so we're just kind of winging it, right? So we'll say details view. And then maybe we'll just add a button here. That lets us change the, we'll just show the view, right? And so this basically have a button, and we want it to be able to, this is the edit view. Let's say when we click this button, we're going to set the view, and we're going to say here basically, if the view equals details, then we're going to say it's edit, otherwise details, right? So we're basically just going to say whether it's edit or details, we're going to set it to the other one when we click it. Right. So let's go and preview this. Here we're seeing that this actually right now is undefined, which is because we didn't set it. So we'll just go back. And in this case, I think we are going to say in the button, we're going to say this default to details. I'm just going to copy this because we're going to do the same over here in our show. Right, that way, so if it's unset, we'll just assume it's details, right? That'll be the default. So now we've got details view. If we click this one, we're going to change view to edit and details and edit and details and edit and details, right? And we can see we've got Andreas up here, but if I go and change that path of the param to Thomas, right, now we've got that in here. So that's how you can use either path or query parameters in Toddle to create pages that have dynamic data, and that information is stored in the URLs as you're passing around, sharing links. You're getting back to the exact same version of the page that you were sharing the link from, right? I hope this helped. Thank you very much, Raphael, for highlighting this issue or bringing this question to us. If you like this video and want to hear more about Toddle, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't tried Toddle yet, go to toddle.dev and try it out today. Thank you very much for watching.